The grand solar minimum is coming. Any moment now. Very soon. Momentarily. Pronto. We've heard this refrain for nearly 20 years now, and still there's no sign of it. I wonder how long before people catch on that this is just one giant scam. The predictions are the death knell of hypotheses. If they fail to produce what they predict, then the hypothesis can be thrown out. And this is certainly the case with the grand solar minimum. In 2008, Abamatsoff was predicting that solar cycle 24 would peak at about 75, and that solar cycle 25 would peak at about 40, and solar cycle 26 would be less than 20. In 2015, Zarkova predicted that solar cycle 25 would peak at between 90 and 100. Then that solar cycle 26 would be about 40. Others have predicted even lower numbers than those. After solar cycle 26, all the predictions that would be an extended Maunder minimum, in other words a grand solar minimum, and a little ice age would be coming our way. The only thing is, all the predictions that have been verified so far have proved to be false, and the other ones don't look very likely at the moment either. Then of course you get idiots like this one that says the grand solar minimum is coming very soon. Now he posted that 2 weeks ago and we still haven't got a grand solar minimum. So exactly when is this grand solar minimum starting and where is it? Because there's no signs of it as yet. In fact, solar cycle 25 has exceeded all expectations. You can see here the predictions of NOAA and NASA in that red line with the grey uncertainty on it. And solar cycle 25 in terms of sunspots is way above it, and even more so for the 10 centimeter radio flux. So rather than being a smaller cycle, it's been a much larger cycle. And the problem is that there's no sign of it slowing down as yet. This is a plot of the smooth sunspot number for solar cycle 25, and that's the parameter that is used to determine the dates of minimum and maximum. The most recent data point we have is for August of 2024, and that's the highest point as yet. So that says that this cycle at the very earliest will peak in August of 2024, much later than many of the predictions from the GSM folks were making. It's also at 157, which is about 60% higher than their predictions. And I have every confidence that this is going to carry on going up. And by the way, my predictions in 2020 was that it was going to be at 165, and that's looking really good at the moment. Here is an indicator that the flares aren't slowing up either. The orange line is solar cycle 25 and it's still going up at a phenomenal rate, and there's no sign of it bending over like solar cycle 24 did. So how far off is solar minimum? We can get an idea of that by looking at the latitude of the sunspots and how it has evolved through the cycle so far. And you can see the northern hemisphere blue at the top is migrating towards the equator at about the same rate as the sunspots in the southern hemisphere. And all we have to do is calculate when those two lines will cross. And it turns out that that will be in October of 2030. So we're expecting the minimum to occur around about that time, plus or minus a few months, and that the new cycle will start just shortly thereafter. So what can we conclude from all of this? Well, solar cycle 25 has not peaked yet, so August of 2024 is the earliest date that maximum could be. It's probably going to be several months later. It will peak at a sunspot number of greater than 157. There is no sign of solar cycle 25 slowing down as yet in any of the key parameters, flares, sunspot numbers, coronal mass ejections, and so on. The likely minimum date, i.e. when this cycle will end, is October of 2030. And so it's going to be a slow, steady decline starting relatively soon in the next few months. Hold on though, we haven't talked about this little ice age that was supposed to be coming along with it. These are pictures taken back in the 17th and 18th century of what the River Thames looked like, i.e. it was frozen over. So let's take a look at that and see what likely impact an extended Maunder minimum will make to our climate. The numbers don't lie. The difference between solar minimum state, i.e. a Maunder minimum state, and the peak of an average cycle is about 0.1% in the amount of energy coming from the sun. That is a very small amount, so no little ice age is coming. There's 0.056% less energy coming from the sun from morning minimum conditions, i.e. solar minimum conditions. That compares with 7% less energy from January to July due to just changes in the distance between the Earth and the Sun because of its orbit. There's a simple inverse square law. If you're living on planet Earth and say at some arbitrary latitude like 45 degrees away from the equator, there's 65% less energy at that latitude in this winter than there is in the summer. On average, on the planet, there's about a 40-degree change between winter and summer. So an extended morning minimum would result in 0.04 degrees Fahrenheit change in our average temperatures. Anthropogenic global warming produces about 0.3 degrees Fahrenheit per decade changes. So the morning minimum is equivalent to about 1 year's worth of anthropogenic global warming. So thank you for watching. If you know of anybody who would benefit from looking at this video, please pass on the link to them. And until next time, stay safe and goodbye.